Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode 55 of Gumbo Live, the #1 Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, Rob Daviau, designer, writer, and chef extraordinaire at Restoration Games. We'll be chatting with him about Betrayal, Fireball Island, and so much more. Hey, Gumbo Live is a proud member of Punchboard Media. Check out other fine members like the Longview Podcast. TC and Joe take a deep dive into the hobby. Their latest episode is a long look at all the games that came out in 2017 at Essen. Are they still playing them? That's the Longview. Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hit us up on social media tonight on Twitter at BoardGameGumbo, Facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat. But enough blather. Let's get right to our guest. Hey, Rob Daviau, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, man, give us, I don't have to explain an elevator pitch to you, so give us the quick elevator pitch. Who is Rob Daviau?
I'm a board game designer, and actually this week marks my 20th anniversary of being a professional board game designer.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, I started at Hasbro in November of 1998 and managed to get a paycheck from it ever since. I don't know how many games I put into market, because at Hasbro there's a lot of things that went to market, or I had a hand in, or there was a team, or it came from an inventor, and somewhere between 70 and 100 games over 20 years.
Including Battleship, the card game.
I actually really like Battleship, the card game.
I haven't played it.
It's a little overcomplicated for the market for kids, because I was a new designer, and I thought I could have played this when I was 6, but then I grew up to be a game designer. So I have this perfectly balanced setup for 2 players, which is completely unnecessary.
Rob, I'm trying to think what you're best known for. Is it Risk Legacy? Is it Betrayal?
Legacy.
Is it the #1 game on BGG, Pandemic Legacy? No. You know what it is? Based on your social media, I think it's For Being a Friend of Isaac Childress.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. And by the way, Isaac has the #1 game on BGG. I have the #2.
That's true. That's true, Gloomhaven. But
although I did write one scenario in Gloomhaven, so I have this tiny little timeshare in the #1 spot.
Well, I saw it on social media, but a lot of people don't know this story, and I think it's hilarious. Tell the viewers what happened to you with you and Isaac, because I think that's just hilarious.
It was Grand Rapids, Michigan this fall, and I was checking into the hotel and just talking with the clerk. And just asking, like, oh, there's a game convention. Is it here? Is it down the street? And she just started talking. And all of a sudden, like, just didn't know games, didn't play games. She goes, oh, my friends are playing a game, and I've only played one game recently. It's Gloomhaven. I'm like, oh, I'm having dinner with a designer. Then she got really excited to meet me. Like, she lost her mind that I knew the guy and was having dinner with the guy who did Gloomhaven. That was my step to success. And so I put it on Twitter, and I just thought it was funny.
It was hilarious.
2 mornings later, I'm having breakfast. Isaac and I are meeting again because we're working on a game together. And the guy comes over, and they have board games in the restaurant. They're talking about the big board gamers, and some of them had gone to the convention. And I said, what are you playing? He said, Gloomhaven. I said, I'm having breakfast with a designer. Lost his mind again. Even though we had been talking, I said, I did Betrayal, or part of Betrayal up there, and I've done this and that. And because he was asking me what I had done, and he's like, yeah. Oh, you're having breakfast with the Patroka. And then he got really nervous around Isaac when he was serving breakfast. So that was my weekend to definitely be Robin to his Batman. It was kind of fun.
I have a Daviau story.
Okay.
I was at Gen Con 2 years ago on the flight coming back. And when I went to get in my seat, a nice lady was sitting in the seat behind, introduced herself to everybody. You might know her. Her name is Lindsay Daviau.
I do. I know her.
And she's sitting behind. She sits next to this guy. I was one seat in front. The guy that I sat next to works in the oil field. I do oil field work on the law side. So I got to do the entire flight talking work all the way back, right? The guy that sat with Lindsay was an RPGer.
Okay.
Had no idea who Lindsay Daviau is. Had no idea who Rob Daviau is. And I'm sitting there the whole time because I can hear him. You know how airplanes are? You can hear the conversation going on behind me. And I'm sitting there going, I'm talking oil field for 3 hours when I could have been sitting in the back just, asking Lindsay every question I wanted to ask about some of the games and some of the work that she's done with I know she's done a lot of development work. Is that right?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, that's my wife, not my sister or anything like that.
That's true.
And And we met together at Hasbro, 2004. She was an art director. And out of all the art directors at Hasbro, they were very good ones, but she was the most gamer, right? She would get together and want to play games. And then we ended up dating, and then we ended up getting married. And for a couple of years when I left Hasbro, she worked at Yankee Candle, sort of a steady paycheck until I got my solo career going. And then a couple of years ago, we said, let's just go back to working together again. So at Restoration and in the original stuff, she does prototyping. Well, for original games, she does a lot of the prototyping files. And for Restoration games, she does art and the final production files. Okay. Not all of the art, but she basically makes everything go to the printer and look great. But mostly it's just a lot of fun to work with my wife and play games with her during the day and prototype and throw ideas around.
We got a couple of people checking in. Steve O'Rourke is the name father. He helps me with the show. He puts together the Jambalaya game each week. We'll be doing that later. He says, welcome, Rob. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. Bill Laissez, the designer, Coy, saying, hey, Rob, evening all. So hopefully, Bill usually asks some questions later on in the chat, so hopefully we'll get some there. If you haven't played Coy, great little abstract game that came out, beautiful art, beautiful components. He'll be on the show in about a month. I did have one question before we get to our topics. I had Justin on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, between you or Justin, who makes the better sauce piquant?
Probably Justin, just before he grew up, but I don't know. So we both talk about how we love cooking, and we both consider ourselves, as a running joke, the better cook. We've never cooked for each other or eaten each other's food.
Really?
Yeah, I think if it came down to who can make a better recipe that they've made before, Justin would win. I think he'd be really good. I tend to do everything improv. I think if we had a chops challenge, where it was just a basket of stuff we had to put together, I got a shot to win that one. I'm a little more improv-y, and he's a little more regimented, I think, but I don't even know. Like, he's going to hear this and then yell at me and say I was all wrong.
No. When he was on the show, he said you were the better quick mind. That's what he said on the show. And speaking of that, boy, my wife and I got hooked on Chopped for just like 3 years in a row. That was the only show we watched on TV. I'm still amazed at what those guys can do.
Not to turn this into a cooking show, which I very easily and happily can do, but 20 minutes to make anything, let alone something coherent, is just frightening, which is why they're always cutting themselves and bleeding all over the place and lighting it on fire. And even these professionals, that's like half the time that they should be given to do that.
Bill's got an idea for you. A Gen Con Chopped challenge between you and Justin for charity.
We almost did a cook-off stretch goal for Fireball Island. Yeah, and then we realized we were just talking to ourselves, and they gave no value to any consumer whatsoever. About four people would have gotten it.
Everyone in Louisiana would be excited by that. And if you've spent some time in Louisiana, you know that. That's all. When we're eating, we talk about the next meal we're going to have while we're eating the one we're eating.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I applaud that. I've actually never been to Louisiana. I've been to about 44 states. Louisiana isn't it, but I have friends who live in New Orleans now. It's on my list to visit next year.
Come on by. We'll show you a good time. We'll pass a good time, as they say. Hey, BJ from Board Game Gumbo on Gumbo Live. I've got Rob Daviau here. Rob, you missed Essen this year. That's what I've been told, at least on your social media. But you've been many times.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I missed it. I skipped it.
For those who haven't gone, how does it compare to Gen Con? Because that's kind of the trade show that we think of in terms of them.
I think that Gen Con and Essen both embody their cultures to the extreme.
I hadn't heard that.
Right. So Gen Con is very American. And where it gets extreme is people are a little too loud, their costumes are a little too big. They're a little too amped up to be there. And what you want to say is, hey, we're all having fun, but let's bring it down a notch. You can play anywhere. You can do anything. There is concerts or conventions. Essen is someone described it as the world's largest gaming flea market. It is huge, but there are just booths to buy games. There is no open play area. There are no panels. There's no seminars. It is just buy your game, play your game in the booth, buy them, and then please leave and go somewhere else to play them. There's not a table to play a game. You never see anyone playing a game outside of these booths. And the people who are there, I made a joke that they seem to be cosplaying a German person who took a day off to go to the show. Like, everyone is just dead serious. They've got their list, and they're like, yeah, I've played 8 of this 10 games on my list. It's still on there, and I'm having a good time. And they're like, are you? right? But they're like, but everything's moving and humming along. Like Gen Con's just loud and all over the place, and Essen is efficient, and it's like they came out of central casting.
As a gamer, what's your favorite con? Not as a publisher, not as a designer, as a gamer.
It's hard to say because I didn't go to conventions until I was a professional, so I always have this professional approach to them. I'm going to be at BGG Con next week, which I really like because
I'll be there.
I'll see you there. And because that's where I play the most games with friends. It's like sort of this wind down period. So friends in the industry. Then I always say I'm not going to do any work at BGG Con, and I'm scheduled for like 5 hours of playtests a day, but it's less frantic than the other conventions. I love going to conventions, but I kind of miss just going as a player. I kind of
as Rob.
I kind of say that I'm going to a work conference that takes place at a game convention. I haven't played a game at Gen Con in like 6 years, not one.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I just go to meetings all day. It means I have a career and I'm successful at it, and people want to have meetings, and I have play tests and schedules and events, and I'm not complaining about it. It's a different track than other people are on. So I get to sort of see the show, but not dive in.
I'm a demoer. That's why I go to the conventions. So I mostly demo games, and at Gen Con, I very rarely play games. At Dice Tower Con, in the 2 days before the con started, I played more games there than in all the years that I've been to Gen Con combined in 2 days at Dice Tower.
I mean, the joke I make is that Santa's elves work Christmas Eve, right? Like there has to be people who make the games and work the booth and set it up so that everyone else can enjoy it, right? So that's fine.
We got some people checking in. Jay Peak, who does a great podcast. If you haven't heard it, Rob Daviau 20 years ago would have listened to this thing. It's called Board Games Outsider. It's for people trying to get in the industry, and he interviews people and asks them, how did you get your start? So that's Jay Peak checking in. He says, Essen sounds like a total dud con to me. I feel like I'd hate it. Bill says, wow, that's not what I pictured at all for Essen, given its size. But, you're giving us the inside tips. That's what Essen's all about, right?
It is a place to play a lot of games, to see what's coming out, to leave with a lot of games. Some people love it. For me, it's a bit dry. I love going to Europe, and my daughter's off at college. My son is still in high school, so chances are good when I'm an empty nester, I'll go to Essen and have a completely different approach. Because if I have to go to Europe, why not go to Paris for 3 or 4 days to adjust to the time schedule?
Sure.
Because that's the other thing is I arrive on a red eye Wednesday morning and go right into meetings. And sort of by the time I get my feet under me and I'm adjusted to the time schedule, I'm flying back. So it's tough for me personally. I don't hate it, but I've been doing a lot of traveling this fall. I leave tomorrow morning at 6:15, and then BGG Con and PAX Unplugged. So taking 2 weeks out, it was fun because there were no meetings because everyone was gone. So I just sat and got to do sort of the quiet, fun part of game design.
The gang from Blue Peg, Pink Peg, we're talking about on the podcast today that they went and did Paris for 2 days before getting to Essen. And I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah. That's a different approach.
Hey, Noel Adelman is checking in. He says, I'll be there. Let's play something. Noah, I'll be at the Cosmos booth. So come on by. I'll do some demos for you. And then I'll be hanging out all night. So just playing games. So I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to BGG. They tell me it's just a Texas version of Dice Tower Con where pace is slow, lots of gameplay, lots of friends meeting up. That's what I'm looking for. That's my favorite kind of con.
I think that's a pretty accurate description.
Bill wants to know, are there any games you're looking forward to trying while you're at BGG Con?
I am woefully ignorant of what games I want to try there. Luckily, I have a lot of friends who will show up with games, and they're like, you should play this. And I'm like, thank you. I would love to play it. I also, it's professional courtesy. I tend not to talk about games that I'm looking forward to or that I didn't, do well, because it's never fun to hear someone say I didn't like your game because they worked very hard on it.
Sure.
If I particularly like a game, I'll talk about it if something really strikes my fancy, but I tend to be quiet about it. It feels like professional courtesy to me. I'm not a critic. I'm a game player, and I've gotten some bad reviews, and it never feels good. So I'm looking forward probably to just playing games and seeing what's out there, and I will discover something that I absolutely love. I just don't know what it is yet.
Here's why we call him the Name Father. He says Gen Con versus Essen is Ameribrash versus I'm okay, you're okay.
There you go. I used to be a copywriter. Well done.
Well done. That's the name, Father. He always hits it. Holy cow! I got to ask you something. Baseball Tonight podcast with Keith Law and Javi. How did you pull that off? I know Keith is a board gamer. That's probably the connection. But man, that has got to be for two guys that love baseball. That has got to be the biggest thrill, is being on a podcast like that.
That was crazy. I have done a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of talks. I get the appropriate amount of nervous beforehand, which at this point is relatively minor. Check the lighting, get ready to go. Yes, there is a good game hitting the store this Friday, but
we're going to talk about that one. Don't worry, Jay.
Grow my product relentlessly soon. We're still in the appetizer portion. What was I talking about before I get distracted?
Holy cow, Baseball Tonight. Come on, man. Tonight.
Yeah, so Keith Law, does baseball, but he's a gamer. And so in order to go to Gen Con, other places, he sometimes writes articles. So it's like a semi-professional excuse to do something like, so we're kind of the opposite people. We both like cooking. I have a strong passion for baseball, and games is my profession. He does baseball as a profession. That's a strong passion for gaming. So we're sort of mirror images in a way. We need someone to fill out that cook aspect who's a professional cook.
I doubt if you need to check it out, but Keith Law has that awesome article after Gen Con every year, and I read it religiously every year. It's a great article.
So he came over to the Restoration Games booth at this Gen Con because I had known him before. He had actually had me down to ESPN to do an interview like 2 years ago, and I went around the Baseball Tonight set because I live in New England. It's like a 45-minute drive. He's like, "Do you mind coming down to the offices?" I'm like, "I'll make it for you. I'll come down." And so he came over to the booth and we just talked baseball for 15 minutes. We didn't even talk and I'm like, "Oh yeah, here's the game. It's Dinosaur Tea Party." And so he reached out to me when I got back and said, "I'm doing the podcast this week. I just want to do something different. You want to get in and talk about games?" And I was like, yeah. I was terrified. Like, I got dates and facts wrong and stumbling over words. It was like a whole different world for me.
2012, not 2011.
I know. No, I said 2012. It was 2011. I'm still scarred from Bobby Valentine. Anyway, this year was pretty good. So
Jay's got a serious question. He says, "Rob, fanny pack at a convention, yes or no?" See, I say no, but I want to hear yours.
I say no, but I'm also a guy who wears a tie and cufflinks to a convention. So True. I'm not the guy you go to for practicality over fashion. I almost did a wardrobe change to be on this because, but then I thought the red would offset the dark behind me. So, yeah, I'm not a big fanny pack guy, even though they're really convenient. I wear a blazer so that I can put stuff in the pockets.
I like it. I I tend to dress casual because I dress up for work every day. So I just go with T-shirts and whatever I've got on. So
I'm always in a T-shirt and a hoodie at home, and I never get a chance to dress up. So I started to do it. Now it's what I'm known for, which is not the worst thing to be known for.
Well, hey, look, I'm going to put you on the spot, and if this does, turn it off, and we'll move on to the next one. But I was curious to hear your thoughts about Detective. Maybe you don't have to say whether you like the game or if you don't feel comfortable doing that. But I know you played it, and I've played it, so we've got that shared experience. Tell me about Detective.
That's one that I loved.
Okay.
And I read some reviews after, and I can see why it's not for everyone because everyone's different. I loved Detective because I was playing with my friends, and we played 3 of the 5 episodes, and then we live all over North America. And we finished the last 2 via Skype, and shared Google Docs and shared Skype chats and everything else. And I really enjoyed it, and I finished the last one a week and a half ago. I kind of want to go through as a game designer and look at every card and every branch and figure out what you were expected to know and not know. And people were sort of saying, "Oh, the writing was." I think people were just saying it was bad. It was long-winded, and I don't disagree. I think it's very Polish in its writing approach. I think it was translated from Polish. It's in English, and they just tell stories slightly differently. And I found it amusing, but I can see how some people are like, "I just read a whole card about a Greek salad. What's going on?" I liked that it didn't pull punches. There was no hand-holding. You had to earn it.
Well, until Betrayal Legacy comes out, it's my number 1 game this year. Of course, I'll have to throw that in, a little ding there for you. But it was my number 1 game played this year. I thought that for 3 hours, I forgot that I was playing a board game, and there was 5 of us, and I felt like for the first time ever, I was inside Law and Order trying to find this guy that, you know, I don't want to spoil we did the Gen Con scenario, so I don't want to spoil it.
And I haven't done the Gen Con scenario.
Okay, well, I don't want to spoil it, but you know, we're inside that TV show trying to corral the suspects and figure out what it was. And I'm still convinced to this day that we got it right and Ignacy got it wrong. I think we know who the murderer was. I
find it a fascinating game. I also find it a really good intersection between what's on the table, what's in your mind as you're putting together the story, what's on a screen, which is somehow helpful but not distracting, because a lot of people are like, I play board games not to be on a screen. And then sort of like how it, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the rules, how it infuses the real world. Like occasionally you'll see a Wi-Fi signal and it'll say, hey, you can do some research in the real world, which is never mandatory, but adds a lot of context and makes it feel more grounded. So I really enjoyed it. I think the writing at times sounds like it's from a different culture, so it may not be your cup of tea. But I think the overall story, and I don't know if you played like all the first season with the 5 chapters.
That's the only thing I played.
Okay. They are not afraid to continue to surprise you as you play, is all I'll say.
And I also like, as a guy that likes the behind the scenes stuff at Disney and other things, the Imagineering part, I was consciously aware at how cool all of the mechanisms were working together. You know, the way we're moving our pieces, the way we're going to this Antares database, the way that the writing gives you red herrings and also things that aren't red herrings. I saw Ignacy's handiwork there, and I was just impressed. I thought it was a tour de force, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I got mad and I started yelling at him at a convention, which he took as a compliment it was. So.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live. I've got my guest, Rob Daviau. You've got a big game coming out Friday. This game reaches back for many, many years. My scout troop loves Betrayal at the House of Hill. The older guys do, not so much the younger ones. But the older guys love playing this. They play at our local conventions. They play at our game nights. But I'm curious. We're talking Betrayal Legacy, of course. I'm curious. Rob, what was the genesis behind turning this into a legacy game?
They asked me.
That was simple.
I did some very light development work and wrote a haunt for Widow's Walk.
Sure.
And I was at PAX East a couple years ago. I could do the math and see which one it was. Well, that's an old box cover. That was the preliminary box cover.
Yeah.
And started talking with Shelley Mazanoble, who's the brand manager over at Wizards of the Coast, and she didn't know that I had worked on the original game. My name had sort of been scrubbed from the second edition rulebook. I don't think maliciously. And when I started talking about what I had done and things like that, she didn't say anything. And then that was April and July of that year. I guess it was 2016. She just sent an email and said, would you be interested in doing a legacy version? And the thing about Betrayal at House on the Hill, and I know why some people dislike it so much. And I also know why people love it. Like it's a role-playing game in a box with all of the sort of joy that comes out of role-playing games and all the warts that come out of role-playing games. Out of all the games I've worked on, it is the only game that I will play and even ask to play of my own games. Other times people say, will you play this? I'm like, oh, sure. Or decline. But Betrayal, I'm like, hey, you guys want to play Betrayal? Which always surprises people. Now, I didn't come up with the original idea. That was the inventor, Dr. Bruce Glasgow, and the final development was done at Wizards of the Coast, mostly with Mike Selinker, but I did a big chunk of design and development in the middle. And always had a soft spot. And so I just jumped at the chance with Betrayal Legacy. I'm very proud of it. And I think if you like Betrayal, you will love this. And if you kind of like Betrayal, you'll like it. You'll like Legacy. And if you absolutely hate Betrayal, you'll probably say, I still don't like it because I didn't want to radically go in and change the system or the core engine or some of the things. It's what people like about it. So try to kind of contain some of the random swinginess and try to give more meaning to what happens before the haunt. And tried to shave off some of the real crazy, weird edges, but wanted it to still feel like Betrayal.
If anybody out there is interested in the development of the original, because we're going to be talking about Betrayal Legacy tonight, but you did a podcast interview with Tom Vassell so many moons ago when he had the old, what was it called? Board Games University, I think is what it was called. And you kind of talked about how it was a tough road to hoe to get that game all the way through from development into into actual production. But Jay's got an excellent question. If anybody wants to listen to it, it's still out there in podcast land. But Jay's got a cool question I hadn't thought of. Does developing legacy games like Betrayal Legacy, do they get easier or do they get harder the more and more you develop? Because you are now the king of legacy, right?
That's what I do. They by and large get easier because there's a lot of situations that come up where I say, in Ultimate Werewolf Legacy or in Risk Legacy or in Seafall or Pandemic Legacy, we did this. And it doesn't mean that on whatever I'm working on, I have to do the same thing. But it means that there's a starting point to have a discussion.
Okay.
The downside to that is part of what was sort of a lot of fun in coming up with some of the early legacy stuff is I didn't know what I was doing. So everything felt new. And there was some stuff that was really out there that didn't feel safe. And it's a little tempting now when you're doing something saying, I've already figured all this out. Let's just put it together in a different way, which is not entirely bad. But I just don't like doing something where it suddenly becomes paint by numbers, right? Where it's just, you just take this game, you take this game, and you put it together and you do this. And then it's a legacy game. But, by and large, it's a lot easier. Especially the big hidden issue with legacy games is how to make them affordable. Because a lot of what happens in the game is stuff is hidden away and it requires very specific pack out in the box and stuff that's hidden and stuff that's covered. And how do you tell people to do it? And if you want to put a sticker sheet and all these sorts of things. And you have to have a pretty good knowledge of how games go into production to be able to make them profitable. Like the dossiers that were in Pandemic Legacy was originally just cards in the legacy deck with stickers on it. And the factory came back and said, we can't do sticker cards. And even if we could not put them in the right order. We couldn't guarantee because they'd be made in a different factory. And then we'd be paying people to slot them in between cards. And so after we were all done, Matt and I we came up with the dossier system where you peel stuff off and it's like an advent calendar and stuff. And I kind of took point on that because I had 15 years at Hasbro where I would know something like that. So that's like the weird sort of thing about legacy games is a lot of money goes into putting it in the box so the consumer doesn't see the value. You're sort of paying for the time release at the other end, but that's not like a cool big miniature. You can't say, I got this for my money. What you're paying for is, a lot of people put stuff in so it comes out over these 12 steps. And that's just not that exciting or hard to market.
I woke up from a dream one night, and the dream was about a board game that was in a box that had no cover. In other words, no artwork or anything. It was all one color, had no name on it, had no designer, no publisher, no SKU, nothing. And that was the experience. You had to open the box. There's no instructions, and it starts from there. And of course, I woke up, so I don't know what the game's about. But I was excited.
It's waiting to be made. Yeah, no, I've always thought of that, and I know that some games by Friedman Freeze did sort of that, like where you just open the box and it's like, we're playing.
Yeah, fear.
Right.
Fear is
fear, right? Or it teaches you as you go, because I was still thinking about it. One of the things I'd love to do, and I'm not close to it, but before I retire, is crack that eternal puzzle of how do you get people to go from I want to play a game to playing and having a good time, at least the first turn where they have to figure it out, especially people who don't play games a lot. People play games a lot. You go, it's got this, it's got an auction, it's a blind bid, you don't lose your money, ties are friendly. You can just start shorthanding a bunch of stuff. You try to explain a game to the first, someone doesn't play games, and they're like, where's the board? Where do I start? Can I be green? Well, you're not going to play any one piece. And they're like, what? And I don't know how to get people to just be like, it's okay, you're going to be confused. It's fine.
I had Carla Kopp on the show the other day from Weird Giraffe Games, and she said, I have to totally explain everything. I can't just say deck builder because they don't know what deck builder is when I'm doing these play tests, at the mall. Hey, Luis Rosas has a question. What is the first step, Rob, for developing a legacy version? What is the first thing you do whenever Pandasaurus comes and says, Machikoro Legacy, we want to do it?
It's sort of
not necessarily that one.
Well, not necessarily that one, but it is a game coming out next year. It's sort of the same thing, at least for me, that I do with a regular game, which is, what do I want the game to be like? How do I want it to feel? What's the ending? What do you do on a turn? How does it end? And in the case of a legacy game, is there a story? Is it a tightly scripted story? How much control do the players have? What are some tricks or tips that would surprise people? what do we like about, in the case of a legacy game, where I'm putting it to an established brand, I play the brand like, well, what do I want more of? What's the part that feels like it could be added to? Like, does this need a market to make it more robust? Does this need a more evolved combat system? Does this need more cards, more factions? Like, where does this go? If you start with the base game, what story do you want to tell, and what do you want to add in mechanically to get there? But that's sort of the same thing with any game. If you get an idea and you go, well, what's this game about? Is it half hour? Is it an hour? Is it cutthroat? You're just really asking a lot of questions, at least I do, of what I want the experience to be like. Like, do I want people to leave mad? Do I want them laughing? That sort of thing.
BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live. I've got my guest Rob Daviau, and we're talking Betrayal Legacy coming out this Friday. Is that right? Street date?
It is coming out. Street date is this Friday. There's cartons of them in my living room if anyone wants to swing by. And it comes out this Friday. It is, I think it's a lot of fun.
How many players? How much time for each one of them?
Sure.
How many sessions does it take?
Yeah, the game takes place. There's a prologue, which kind of introduces you to a few new things about the legacy system. Right? You read from the legacy deck and you get a few new rules, and you're like, okay, I see how this works. And then there's 13 chapters, and each chapter is another generation in this house.
13,
so you
really? 13.
Well, see, it's 14, but we said, let's do a prologue and then 13 because it's scarier rather than saying it's 14. But we honestly decided that like the last 4 weeks of development. So if someone's like, what's in chapter 4? I'm like, I don't remember. Is it the new chapter 4 or the old chapter 4? And now it's been 9 months since I thought about it. You play the members of a family. So you would be like, I'm the Green family. And then all your descendants and those cardboard things that are on the screen, if they were turned over, you would see the name and the age and the fate of all those people, because it's betrayal and it's a horror thing. So most of the time your fate is some ghastly end, although occasionally you'll live through it. And then you can write something for your fate, like, vanquished a demon. And so you get this little family history and recording that's on the back.
Like
and it's kind of it's not the origin story of the house from the original game. It's an origin story, is what I like to say, because there is a main plot line that slowly evolves. It follows the typical horror trope where in the first act you go, I don't know what's going on, but it seems bad. And there's some weird stuff that doesn't add up. And then the second act you go, okay, it's starting to add up and it's worse than I thought, but I don't really know what to do about it. And then in the third act you go, well, we got a Hail Mary plan to try to, deal with stuff. Let's see if it works, right? Like that's really how a horror movie sort of goes. So we put a horror book in there. And what I like is it starts in 1666 and goes to 2000 or 2004 or something. And we tried to map the chapter to feel like what people would have been afraid of in that year. So the haunts from 1891 should feel different than 1750, which should feel different from 1947. So that was a lot of fun at the beginning of that one when we sort of came upon it. We were like, well, what's the main horrific thing about that?
Yeah, but that must have been an aha moment when you guys did that, realizing that it's going to be by year, it's going to be by era, it's going to be by time period. That must have been
that was pretty early. I went in and I did a proposal, like we agreed to do it, and then Wizards flew me out. We sort of had like a 2-day brainstorm to see if it would work. And I did a pitch. I'm like, here, could do this. And the idea of like the different generations and new room tiles coming in as you play all came in. And then we started down one story, and the story was actually very close to what I had done in Seafall. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Either people know it, or it's like, I just want to try something new. And we stumbled across a different story kind of right away, and very little changed after that first meeting. And then I think I was all fired up and flew home and did this thing where I laid out the years and what the story was going to be about. And it was so much fun. And I think it was like 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, well, that was the fun part. Now it's done. Now it's hard. Now I got to make everything that's up there work.
You've circled back to Hasbro. Or did you go to the old desk and kind of sit at it and go, wow, this feels...
No, my old desk is now owned by Cardamundi. I worked at the games division in Hasbro in Massachusetts, which Hasbro got out of the manufacturing business. So I sold that factory and the office with it. The game people are now down in Rhode Island, which I couldn't move because of family obligations. Wizards of the Coast is in Seattle.
Sure.
So I'm still working for Hasbro or doing work for Hasbro, but 3,000 miles from where I used to.
So I got BJ from Board Game Gumbo Live here. I've got Rob Daviau, and I've got a screen of Betrayal Legacy with all of the components. Rob, you know that one of the problems with Betrayal were those little clips on the life token.
Those are fixed.
Yeah,
those are fixed.
I saw them on social media, but tell me, how did you guys fix it?
I don't know. They fixed them for Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Because I think one of the things I said at the beginning is, okay, we got to get rid of the clips. We have to do something different. And they're like, no, we fixed them. And then they had the clips, and I went, oh, we fixed them.
Okay.
And they don't fall off, and they. Yeah, and this is where you talk about board games are really a game of pennies. And so if I was going to put my foot down, like, we need all new clips, and here's why, and they're like, okay, well, it's $20,000 in tooling, and we don't get the discount from using the other clips. So what 15 cards or 1 miniature do you want to take out? You go, well, if the clips work, I'd rather, if you're giving me a budget, I'd rather go and spend it, over here to try to add, more pages here or more cards or something cooler in this case.
Hey, Jay's got another question for you. Do all characters on different generations follow a single archetype? Like all Red family members strong like Ox Bellows or fast like Flash Williams?
They are all strong like Ox Bellows, but not nearly that strong. One of the things we did is we softened the variety of stats on the different characters. Like no character ever goes down to 1 die. It's 2. Okay. So you can always roll 2 dice, and it means you can always get a 4, which is an average roll, even though your odds are only 1 in 9. And yes, you can get up to an 8, but a lot of people are living in those 3, 4, 5 range. And this is one of the things we tried to do to not be, oh, you're the strong person, you're going to win in every haunt that has combat. We did also look at having characters traits change. Someone does something in a haunt, and then their top trait is no longer a 7, it's a 2. So if they get too strong, they break or they start to get cursed. And we were thinking that's what you do in a legacy game. Like this affects the characters or the families. The family's touched by madness and their sanity is permanently lower. But one of the things that Wizards wanted to do, and I really agree with, is when you're done with Betrayal Legacy, you've only seen about a third of the haunts or less. There's 51 haunts, and you will see 14 when you play. So we wanted this game that you really wear in, and then you just play, and it's infinitely replayable. And we didn't want to have you're playing the Yellow family, and you're going to lose, because when we played the Legacy campaign, they get messed up real bad. And so we were discovering that certainly within the campaign, and certainly after the campaign, families just became not fun to play. So we there are things that like family heirlooms make a difference, and there's some other stuff that's in there, but we really wanted at the end for a family to have a history. But the main character that changes is the house more than you. That's the main character, and all of the families in it are sort of working with it or bouncing off the house. So that the house will change quite a bit. You will change very little, and that's for basically it just got out of whack. It was just not fun to play when the characters got overly strong or overly weak.
Did you do all the writing for the 51 stories, or is it like the Widow's Walk where you brought in some guest writers?
We had guest writers. There was a couple people inside Wizards of the Coast, either contractors or people there who helped with a lot more mechanical and plotting stuff at the beginning. And then there was a haunt team of 2 or 3 people that I spent a lot of hands-on time with. And then there's another woman that I know who I brought in to sort of help edit or punch up the writing at the end, because all my writing sounds like I wrote it. Like if you played Seafall and you played Pandemic, right? It was Rob again. So I wanted someone else to kind of just make it sound different. But there was about 3.5 of us who wrote all 51 haunts.
Now you've answered this question many times, but got to ask you again. That'll be about 150 different stories. These new 51 stories, though, are there any Easter eggs or callbacks to some of the 100 or so haunts that we've seen in the other games?
Hundreds of Easter eggs, both the literature and House on the Hill, like the cards, the haunts. There's haunts
are there squirrels?
There are no squirrels. This was written, a lot of it, before Widow's Walk.
Okay.
I think it had just come out, but we'd already started. So it's mostly an homage to the base game.
Okay.
And occasionally we would tackle things from Widow's Walk. But we did prequels to haunts. A haunt that you play in the main game, which is in modern time. You kind of get an understanding of how that might happen, because you might run into a haunt from 1820 that explains the haunt from the base game. We make references to, literature, characters, cards, all sorts of things.
So fans of the old games are going to be pleased with the familiarity and the new stuff coming in.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a love letter to the original game. Like, we tried to cram as many sort of Easter eggs in there, and I kind of regret that I never went through and sort of wrote them all down. But
I couldn't find an answer that satisfied me, so I'm going to ask you straight out. Can people jump in and out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it plays 3 to 5 players. The original game is 3 to 6, and I know some people are disappointed. But again, in order to try to get this a little more balanced, you can play it with 4 and then say +1, -1, and that was easier for us to test than 3 players and 6. It's just a huge swing. Plays 3 to 5, very little difference in terms of like players being underpowered or overpowered compared to other legacy games. There is a plot. Like, if it's just totally new people each time, you'll start getting halfway through and go, what is going on? Right? Because we do kind of like have this emergent plot. And so it'd be like if every 20 minutes, 3 different people walked into a movie, it would be hard to understand the movie.
Sure.
But it's just narratively. But yeah, no, drop in, drop out. If I did my job right, and I know it's Betrayal, so some stuff won't quite work, but they should be balanced for all the player counts and should work out.
PJ from Board Game Gumbo got my guest Rob Daviau with Betrayal Legacy coming out on Friday. Street date Friday, should be available at all FLGSs everywhere, right?
Yeah, I've been seeing on Twitter a lot of. I got a little saved search. And a lot of game stores are like, coming in this week, arriving this week, come get it, pre-ordered. Like, it's starting to come out. I bet some will be sold tomorrow or Thursday.
My buddy Jambalaya, who runs Jambalaya Plays Games, says, hey, if you're willing to talk about restoration games, and I know you are, but are there any titles you can sort of hint about for next year? Anything y'all want to talk about?
Yeah, well, later this month, we are having Fireball. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll have Fireball Island.
Sure.
We'll be reaching retail. It's in the warehouses. It's being boxed up to go to Kickstarter backers. It's going out to retail stores. Kickstarter.
There's Daniel saying, hey, Rob.
Hello, Daniel.
Thanks for checking in, Daniel.
For 2019, we announced that we're doing Return to Dark Tower. That's what Isaac and Childress and I are working on together, along with
your friend Isaac.
My friend. Yeah,
I've got his signature right there.
Is mine on there? Or do you just get his? It'd be great
no,
if
you
just got his.
weren't at the strike tournament. I didn't see you at the strike tournament.
Yeah, no, you just got his. It's even better then. The story continues. No,
I'm part of the lore.
Yeah, you're part of the lore. I'm in Isaac's shadow.
Yeah, I've got my special guest, Isaac Childress's buddy, Rob Daviau, as my guest tonight here.
Yeah, let me tell you about Mr. Childress. He's a very nice guy. No, Isaac.
Yeah. So Steve O'Rourke, we got
Dark Tower. Yeah, so that one's been tricky because we can't just put like bad 1980s sounds in there, but it can't just be everyone's playing on their phone but not looking at the game, and so trying to get the.
Did you play Dark Tower as a kid?
Yeah.
Because you and I are about the same age, so I'm assuming you spent Saturday afternoons at your buddy's house playing Dark Tower till it broke, like I did.
Yeah, I remember playing in one particular place. My uncle did like sales fulfillment for Milton Bradley. Like, he's the guy who put the games on the shelves at Sears or Toys R Us. Oh, yeah. So he got free games, and so he gave it to me, and I got to play it at my grandmother's house. And I have this very distinct memory of playing it at my grandmother's house one weekend until like my eyes bled. And I only remember playing it there, and it might have just been one weekend. I know I played it more, but that's the one that's fused in there. So I know what the game is supposed to feel like. Like, I can be like, is this making me feel like I was a kid? And we're getting there. We got a little too much in there right now. We're going to take some out. We're talking to plastics people and electronics people and app people and programming, and because this was an electronic masterpiece in 1981. What do we do to be an electronic masterpiece in 2020, which is when it will be out?
I'm dreading the sound and the feeling when you push your luck just a little too much at the bazaar and the drops down.
Yeah. And I'm probably,
we closed.
Yeah, we in Stop Thief, which was our first game, which is also based on electronics. You can play retro sounds. I expect us to put retro sounds into this Dark Tower in addition to new sounds. If you want to get that sort of feel or whatever it was, we should be able to do that for you.
Man, now that one thing about that game, if you messed up and the bazaar came, that was a good way to lose the game because all of your friends were just gonna, upgrade the characters and go right for the tower. At least that's what I remember. It's been 20 years, so I don't remember.
Yeah, you can find it. There are free versions on any sort of app store, no matter what your phone is. It's better in memory than in reality. I mean, you push it. It's mostly a watch me. It's a lot of downtime. So that's part of what we do at Restoration Games. We try to figure out, why was this successful? What's the emotional, narrative, mechanical heart that we can sort of keep and build a new game around?
Because we were playing Parcheesi at the time, and then all of a sudden, this game is dropped in our laps, and we're like, "Holy cow, this is a real game!"
No, I get it. I mean, it's Parcheesi has more decisions. I got to tell you. So I'm sorry. It was a spectacle, and it could DM, and it could adjudicate, and it could keep track of combat, and it had random encounters and a lot of cool stuff. But
it was a hot mess.
You push your luck at the bazaar, and you decide whether you're going to buy a healer. That might be your only decisions in that game.
Yeah, good point. Okay, what about news on Fireball Island? We got distracted there for a second with our jokes about Isaac Childress.
Yeah,
Fireball Island. I'm starting to see it in the wild, but my Twitter tells me it's still at the port. What's going on?
No, it's not at the port. It's all in the various warehouses it's supposed to be. The street date for that is it was going to be Black Friday or November 19th or something, 2 weeks or a week, 10 days from now. Some of them we sent to places and they're like, great. And they didn't realize it was supposed to be, not a street date for, they started selling it a little ahead of time and we're not much we can do about it. But they just have the base game. The backers are getting everything, like the base game and all the expansions and the bonuses and the add-ons. I think that is going out either later this week or early next week in the United States.
I've got a picture there for you.
There you go.
I know this sounds silly. This is what I'm most excited about right here.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Bees.
Oh, the bees coming down and flipping the little, is a tiger?
It's a tiger. You push his tail and he leaps right up. I have to say, I had so much fun working on Fireball Island because it was just being a kid and just having joy, right? But we talk about and then, I don't know, bees pour out of his mouth and everyone's like, what? We're like, yeah! It doesn't have to make sense. There's a line in the newer version of Willy Wonka, the one with Johnny Depp, where he says it doesn't have to make sense. It's candy. I don't think he says that. I think Charlie says that. And I tried to, impart to the team, or they tried to impart to me when I became a stick. And they're like, no, it doesn't have to make sense. It's candy. Of course there's a tiger on the island that jumps and mauls. You're like, oh yeah, you're right. And the bonus cards you get have Excalibur. You can find Excalibur on the island. Why not?
When I do my reviews, I don't do numbers. I don't do anything. My last section is always one line. But is it fun? And then the paragraph talks about the experience of because isn't that really why we play board games? Mm-hmm. Was it fun? And sometimes I think we forget that.
Well, I played a number of games where, I know the person tried hard. I'm not going to say about name, but I'm like, I just played everything about a game except the fun. It all held together. All of the decisions, I can see why they made these choices. And at the end, I'm like, that wasn't fun. Now, other people may love it. But yeah, sometimes I think it's easy to get caught up in, as a designer, in doing this, all this clever stuff. It's really subtle and really interesting and really neat. And sometimes other people may appreciate it, but you don't feel it here. I'm a very American sort of role-playing game person. And Eric Lang, we worked on a game together. And he would do that to me. We'd be on a call like this, and he would pat me on the head. He'd go, okay, you're a very clever designer, and that's a clever idea. We're not doing it, but you get credit for being smart and knowing game design. Now let's do something, simpler and more fun.
And fun. BJ from Board Game Gumbo here on Gumbo Live. I've got my guest, Rob Daviau. Rob, this is a board game show. It's a game show, so you know what we got to do. We got to play a game.
Mm-hmm. I'm ready. Sorry, I was just taking a sip of green liquid.
Hey, there's Chris Strain checking in. Chris Strain, the designer of one of my favorite games here, asking for troubles. He says, I play games to crush my enemies, to see them driven before me, and to hear the lamentations of their women. You didn't make that up, Chris. I recognize that quote.
I recognize that quote.
Luke Fetter says, hey, I love Fireball Island as a kid. He helped me get involved, and it helped me get involved in gaming. He and I have been chatting back and forth all day. We can't wait to get our copies. So I am looking forward to trying Fireball Island, Rob.
Thank you very much.
And we'll let you know if it's fun.
Please do.
You know it's going to be fun.
I'm starting working on an expansion. I don't know if we'll make it, but if the game is well received, we'll have another thing people can buy. So you're like, this wasn't fun because of X, Y, Z. I'm like, well, I'll make an expansion to make it fun.
Oh, no, we're going to be ready. So the game that we play here on Board Game Gumbo Live is called Jambalaya. It's where we take a board game and we take a concept and we mash them together. We give you the clues. You're not by yourself. The chat room is actually going to be playing. People get excited to play it. So don't worry about it. But, you will be competing against some pretty good people like Chris Strain. So good luck to you. You understand the rules of the game. We throw out a clue. In fact, let's do a sample. Let's do a sample.
Help me out here.
It's that classic Texas barbecue war game. But it was updated by Hasbro as the first ever Legacy game. What are we talking about, Rob? What's that game?
Brisket Legacy?
Brisket Legacy. That's exactly how it's done. Brisket Legacy.
Was that the correct answer?
That's the correct answer.
Okay, I can do that.
All right, so it's the Jambalaya game. Jesse and Chris and Steve and all that. Well, Steve won't be playing because he designed most of these. Hey, a couple of tip-ins from Alex Goldsmith, my buddy from the Dukes of Dice, who is the chief noisemaker over there at Gray Fox Games. Some of these are his too. So we've got a bunch of clues. I'm going to give you, of course, you're a chef. I'm going to give you a baker's dozen, right?
Okay. All right.
That makes sense?
And when I just shout it out, and if they type it first and they get it?
They get it.
Okay. It's real time.
It's real time.
No turns.
The only thing that's
go.
They're
Thunderdome.
a little bit behind. Exactly. We go on Thunderdome. We got a baker's dozen for you, or as some people would say, a little lanyap, right? 12 plus a little lanyap. So let's start with the first one. Oh, I got this one right from your Twitter. So we'll see if you get it.
Oh, these are the worst. I always get stuff about me wrong. Let's go.
Japanese tales and folklore told over a steaming plate of good old Italian soft dough dumplings. What are we talking about, Rob?
We're talking about, I know the second half, Japanese folklore.
Jeremy Davis says, let's do it. All right, Jeremy, throw it out there, Geek Ninja.
I know the second half. It's something gnocchi. It's Oni gnocchi.
He's got the food. Now,
I got the food. I'll get the food all day. Japanese folklore, the game.
Yeah. It might be because you're pronouncing it correctly, and I'm pronouncing it like a Cajun from Louisiana, and that's where we got this clue. That might be why.
What's the Cajun way you pronounce it?
Japanese tales and folklore told over a steaming plate of good old Italian soft dough dumplings, gnocchi, right? And you're saying gnocchi.
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 Or even gnocchi. Gnocchi.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna. Someone can steal this one right away. If I'm gonna have to pull out game titles, I'm gonna like a food I can do all day long. Takanaki, that's great. I hope it's that.
Couple of people. Well, how about I give you a hint there, Rob Daviau?
Okay.
You worked on this game.
What?
Yeah. What?
So.
Anybody at the Dice Tower Con would know this game. I mean, not Dice Tower Con, Gen Con, Dice Tower Show would know this game. What?
This is even. I told it, like, if you're gonna take stuff about me, I'm gonna fail it every time. Like, I didn't make a game on Japanese folklore.
No. But of course, that's
Rising gnocchi. Like, what?
That's what you've said. This game is about Japanese tales and folklore told over a steaming plate of good old Italian soft dough dumplings.
I'm stumped on the first one. This is gonna just be a. This is going to live in infamy. I'm going to bat less than my weight here.
Steve, what do you think? We it looks like we're going to have to call it.
This from
we're going to have to call it, I think.
Yeah,
all right,
so
I think we're going to go with BJ and Steve on the winner on this one. How about Naki Koro Legacy?
Okay.
Too much restraint.
Naki Koro, yeah. No, that is Japanese folklore, and I did do that game. I was thinking games I've already published, not games coming out. I was stuck in the past.
All right, here's one from Steve O'Rourke. Ready? Yeah.
Okay. Now I get a feel for it. Hold on, I need to hydrate.
Yeah, let's wipe that one off the board. that was a BJ one, and it wasn't good. Oh, I like that. Marshall says set of ghost stories, Noki stories. How about this one? A rich vegetable and pasta soup could really help those early humans survive and thrive. A rich vegetable and pasta soup could really help those early humans survive and thrive.
Pasti fagioli, I assume, is what you're talking about there.
No. I think this one you're going to have to kind of
go. Minestrone. We talked about that. Okay. Minestronage.
Oh, there it is. He's got it. Oh,
there we go. I got to feel for it now. They're atrocious. I needed to basically decide that they're atrocious puns, and then I can.
These will be matchups and puns, no question. Some are mashups. Look, and Chris Strain was right behind you. Chris, he got you at the buzzer. Sorry about that. I will be keeping an eye, though. I am the final judge.
Okay,
Rob. Oh, the good doctor. He just loves his auction games, and one of his best is all about buying amazing works about vegetables. Amazing works of vegetables. Oh, that good doctor.
Modern mart. I'm trying to think of modern cart. I'm very close.
Chat room, he's right on it. I'm telling
right on
you,
it.
You're going to have to get the tip in because he's right on it. The buzzer's about to go. He's got it. Modern. Oh, that good doctor. He just loves his auction games.
Yeah.
But one of his best is about buying amazing works, paintings about vegetables. Are they going to steal this one from Rob?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Is it Andy Warhol?
Rob threw the alley-oop. Is somebody going to hit it?
Yeah.
Or is he going to get the three-pointer?
Here.
What's the game?
Modern art, I'm thinking is what you're.
What's a vegetable that starts with modern?
Oh. Modern artichoke.
Modern artichoke. He's got it.
There we go. He's
got it. An assist from BJ.
Yeah. No, I can't take credit for that one.
All right. So how about this one? Now, this one comes from Alex Goldsmith. So if you don't like it, blame it on him, not me. Oh, Jesse says modern a la carte. That would have been a good one. I like that one, Jesse. Yeah. That's a good one. Wait, did Chris did get it? He got modern artichoke. Steve, I'll need a ruling from you as to whether or not he got it in time. But let's go to the next one. Ready? This is straight from Alex Goldsmith. Sure. Kinshasa, Kolkata, and Khartoum, they're on the verge of collapse, people. But isn't this almond confection delightful? Steve, I love that one. I really love that one. By the way, the judges say it's Chris. Chris did get it right. Right before you said modern artichoke. So.
Yeah, great.
Sure. Kinshasa, Kolkata, and Khartoum. They're on the verge of collapse, Rob.
I know.
But isn't this almond confection wonderful? Steve.
Once again, I get the food right away. And I know exactly which game you're talking about. I even know what continent they're on.
Yeah, Steve, you should be proud of this one because this one was a good one.
So the problem is I don't do puns or portmanteaus often, so I'm going to have to...
Hint, if you've ever watched an episode of Chopped, it's like every
It's marzipan.
Okay, you watched Chopped then. You know.
No. I'm cooking. I got down pat. I'm trying to figure out a bad pun that leads into Marzipandemic. That's it.
Marzipandemic
Legacy.
There it is.
Right, because they're virgin on the clubs. Yeah.
Nicely done.
I was putting the game first. I didn't realize the game could go second. It's like I've never played a game before.
Kemet Tredo. That's an interesting combination. Chris, not a winner, but an interesting one. All right, this one made Steve happy. So let's see if you. Oh, look, there's the Game Geek Ninja. He's checking in too. Yes, you were right there, Jeremy, but Rob already had it. So, how about this one? Seafood with legs, a card game with pegs. He loves those little rhymes, Steve. The name father loves them.
Crabbage.
Yes. Oh, whoa, the 3-pointer. Nicely done.
Yeah, now I'm starting to get a sense of how these work now.
Oh, wow. Very nice. I thought people would have a little trouble with that one. Nicely done. Yeah. If you know Steve O'Rourke, portmanteaus are always a good guess.
Yeah.
All right, let's throw out another Alex Goldsmith, shall we? You
Okay.
with that?
All right. I'm warmed up now.
Nothing like good old-fashioned campfire cooking. I like that. Stretching out. Nothing like good old-fashioned campfire cooking to keep me satisfied in this treacherous tropical paradise.
No. See, now I'm.
He loves the alliteration. That's so Alex Goldsmith. Oh my God, he loves alliteration.
It's like Camp Fireball Island. It's something. It's
okay. So he's got the game. Chat room. I'm gonna let you know the crew to Gumbo. He's got the game, but I think he's gonna have trouble putting this one together because I think Alex's clue is a little bit too.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, it's a little too nebulous. Nothing like some good old-fashioned campfire cooking to keep me satisfied in this treacherous tropical paradise. I'm convinced I would have been fired as a game show host because I give out the clues too much.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you're giving away the millions.
Yeah, campfire. I'm like,
okay, you know what?
Red-eye gravy, pork and beans.
I'm gonna make a call.
S'more Island.
Tailgate cooking.
Tailgate
cooking in Chicago or Green Bay.
Yeah. Fire brought Island.
Oh my God, he got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, nicely done. Okay, that was a tough one. Don't you think?
Yeah. Fire brought Island. Yeah,
so what was
it? Well, you said Green Bay, and that's bratwurst, and that's brats, especially with Chicago. Once you get to tailgating in Green Bay, it's brats.
To give a hint, BJ, you're showing how the sausage gets made. Well, I used to make sausage, so I'll let you know that one. All right, here we go. Here's another Steve one. Oh, I like this one. I wonder if you've played this game, though. Let's see. Study at the feet of a master to learn your painting technique in this wonderful Bruno Cathala game. Yeah. And be sure to go easy on those spicy greens because it'll really clean out your sinuses.
It is.
You've played this game a bit.
Kanagawa and wasabi, but that's not a spicy green that works with it. Clean out your sinuses. I think I'm blanking on the food here.
Be sure to go easy on that very spicy green. It will really clean out your sinuses. Chat room, he's got the game. It's Kanagawa. Who can put it together and steal from Rob Daviau? Wow, at the halfway point, Rob is just killing it, man.
Well, I've been very much dragged across the line. I can't think of a spicy green, and there's peppery greens.
So Steve, you're going to give him a hint. He says, "You got it, Rob. It's the right green. Just mash them together."
Oh.
Study at the feet of the master to learn your painting technique in this wonderful Bruno Cathala. Jeremy says Kanagawa Sabe.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you deserve it. I just couldn't mash those two together. I got the two pieces.
Nicely done, Game Geek Ninja. Very nice. You were right on it. Oh, I like this one. Jalapeno Gawa.
Nice. Yeah, no, I had the two pieces, and I'm like, for some reason, I can't take the last two letters of a word and mix them with the first two letters of a word.
Rob, I'm going to need you to pronounce this because Jesse's got me on this one.
Halotagaya? I have no idea what that is.
It's funny though.
Looks Portuguese actually. I don't know what that is.
Oh, Emily's got it. Emily Ozell said it should have been Cayennegawa. That's right, Emily. If it was a Louisiana spice, we would have done that. And
but it's not green. Cayenne is not green.
That is true. It does have a little green leaf though. In this Euro game, Rob, the menu for the ball at Versailles included a rich dish of poultry braised in Burgundy.
I don't know the game. I probably have played it. It's just not coming up.
You know the dish.
Coq au vin?
Sure. Sure. He's got the dish, Steve.
I'm trying to think of a game that goes...
The hint here is ball at Versailles. Ball at Versailles. It's a game that's tough to get. It's not in print right now.
Yeah, I probably will know it when I hear it, but I'm not recalling it.
All right, so So chat room, he's given up on that one. Anybody out there know this game?
I'm guessing it starts with VIN, the way you guys do it. It's Coca Bin, something.
There's a hint from Chris.
Oh, it's Rococo Van?
It's close. Yeah, Rococo Van is the way to say it. It's Rococo Van. Rococo Van.
Rococo Van.
Do you know that game?
I know the name. I don't know if I played it though.
I have not. Chris Miller on the Secret Ball talks about it all the time. I have yet to play. It's so hard to find. I mean, you got to go to a convention to play it.
I can assure you that my food knowledge is far deeper than my game knowledge in terms of trivia.
All right, here we go. Alex Goldsmith's last one, and this is just. I'll tell you about this later. I'm going to sloppily bite into this hunk of meat earned as spoils from my latest Viking raid.
What?
I'm going to sloppily bite into this hunk of meat earned as spoils from my latest Viking raid. All right, crew. I'm gonna give you a hint. Alex works for Monochromatic Wolf for Gray Fox Games. He's throwing a little pitch in there. He's throwing a little ding ding.
Yeah. I think the word is gnaw, but I don't really. Raiders of the Gnaw Sea. Like, what's the?
Yeah, that's not a Gray Fox game.
Yeah, see.
But you're close. You got the right thing. Oh, there he's got it. Champions of Midgard.
There you go. Very nice.
Yes, Alex, you got the little. He did get the pitch in there. All right, nicely done. All right, here we go. Just a couple of left. Just 4 left. And this one is appropriate tonight, Rob. I don't know if you know. There's like a big thing going on all over the country tonight.
Yeah, it's hard not to look on that screen.
All right, so here we go. We're going to get it quick so you can get back to the results. A vote for me is a vote for German pasta for everyone. This classic heavy Euro game takes German politics and Italian comfort pasta to new levels on a night like tonight.
Italian comfort or German comfort?
It's Italian comfort pasta, but it takes German politics to a new level.
Okay.
I thought I heard you say it.
Daimaka?
Mm-hmm.
Macaroni. There it is.
Macaroni. He's got it.
Yeah. Well, you said German. You said German at the beginning, so I was on Spätzle. I had to redo my pasta.
Okay, now this is one I picked. I don't know if you're going to know the game, but I know that you're kind of a student of history, right?
Yep.
Okay. I love European history. The Black Gate was intimidating to travelers in early Roman Empire. But it's not so bad if you just grill it first, you add a little feta cheese on top, maybe put it on a toasted baguette.
Wow. There is a lot to unpack in that clue. I'm trying to think of what you grill and then serve with feta on a baguette. That's Greece by way of Paris, my friend.
Oh, I Googled for the first image I could find with this ingredient, and that was the first one I saw. A little feta cheese. It was grilled, and it's on a toasted baguette. It's too chewy for me, but
I'm guessing it might be eggplant, but I'm just sort of guessing. But the eggplant's not that chewy.
Bill doesn't like that one. Yes, Bill, I wrote that one myself.
I mean, halloumi cheese is squeaky, but and it's Greek, so it fits with feta, but I don't think we're in that.
No.
Now, we're grilling something that's too chewy for you?
This one would probably be easier if you knew the game. So what game are we talking about with the Black Gate? And it's intimidating to travelers in early Roman Empire.
I have no idea.
Oh, man. It's right behind me on my shelf, too. Right there. Oh, man. It's right there. Let's see if anybody knows it. No, close. Bruschetta. That's actually a good one.
I saw you got to move against Porta. I can't remember the last name. Porta means gate in Latin. Yeah, Porta Nigra means Black Gate.
Black Gate. Porta Nigra.
Porta Bella Nigra.
There it is. He's got it. He's got it. The Chewy should have given it away. No? Nope. Not enough.
It's meaty.
I do like...
Mushrooms wrong are very squeaky and off-putting. I can see that.
All right, last two. Ready? Last two. Give Chris a chance to catch up on you because you got 2 out of the last 4. Here we go, Chris. Here's your chance. A 52-card climbing game where partners try to acquire that old Disneyland favorite, delicious cinnamon sugar desserts, which I tried, by the way, 2005, July 17th, 2005, 50th anniversary of Disneyland. I was there, and I tried them for the first time. Yeah, Chris, you can see how much I'm experienced with portobello mushrooms.
Yeah.
52-card climbing game where partners try to acquire that Disneyland favorite, delicious cinnamon sugar desserts. I will tell you, they were okay.
I have no idea what the dessert is. I've been to Disneyland. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I don't buy the desserts there.
Yeah. You would have to stay away from this one.
I mean, I could take the insulin for it, but it's not Tichu, I think is what you're doing for the first part.
What's Disneyland known for? Tichu.
Makata.
Anybody out there?
Teach you a lesson. Choose you. Churros?
Churros, there it is. Bill, the game is Tichu. Churros.
So I got to tell you that churros are a Mexican dessert. They're not symbolic of Disney World.
You're correct.
They're kind of a Mexican donut, but with a patachu pastry, like dough.
If you wasted as much time on Disney bulletin boards as I have over the last 30 years, you would know that churros, for whatever reason, people think of Disneyland. I don't know why.
I honestly, I hadn't heard that churros were associated with Disneyland. If I saw them, I'm like, no, they have churros.
All right, last one. And I think this one is too
hard. All right,
hard.
I'm going to rock this one. You think it's too hard?
For me, it would be. I think you might be getting it. Bill says Disney marketing may disagree. All right. This classic base for many Puerto Rican dishes is extra delightful if you bring some along on your trip. Just make sure you save enough money for the meals along the way. And hopefully this hand is giving you a hint there.
Yeah, no, I'm drawing a blank on the Puerto Rican. I know it. It's.
I don't know the dish, so it would have been hard for me.
They said base?
This classic base for many Puerto Rican dishes.
Yeah, no, it's.
Oh, Steve, he knows it.
Yeah, no, basically almost all cuisines have like 3 ingredients that they start each dish with. Like the French use a mirepoix, which is onion, celery, and carrots. And in New Orleans, they have the Trinity, right?
The Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity. So this is the equivalent of
garlic,
pepper, celery. Can't remember what the one is for New Orleans.
Just drawing a blank right now. Start with little onions, a little garlic, and a little celery.
Right. That's your thing. So the Puerto Rican and a lot of Spanish ones have something else that I am just drawing a blank on the name, and it's different depending on which island you are on the Caribbean.
Oh, you're going to be mad.
There it is. Sofrito. Yes, sofrito. I was searching for sofrito and toquito. There are 2 things I knew that I could not recall the names of.
So you knew both of them, though.
I knew you were doing toquito, and I could not remember the name sofrito right now. I think it's onion, green pepper, and garlic. So.
Fantastic. All right, board gamers, that is it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank Rob, who did fantastic in the Jambalaya game. You got a bunch of guesses right, and we've had a couple of guests get kono yo, as we say, 0 on the game. So you got most of them. So good one. It was a tough night. I mean, all those cooking terms, you were just knocking them out.
The cooking stuff I know. And the board games I eventually get to, but putting them together, it's like taking 2 parts of my brain that don't talk to each other and asking them to make a pun.
We're all excited about Betrayal Legacy coming out this Friday. But Rob, if people have questions after the show, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can do Twitter probably at Rob Daviau, ROBDAVIAU. That's the best way to sort of reach me. I try to answer any questions that come there. If you're really adventurous and you find my email and it's a short question, I will also answer it. I sometimes get 3-page emails telling me how they would have fixed Seafall. Those are not responded to as often.
Well, maybe you can follow up on Twitter and just post a response later. As the master of legacy games, have you considered doing Forbidden Island Desert Skies Legacy? Check that out on Twitter, and hopefully we'll have an answer. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's up to Matt, not me.
Yep, sure. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo. It helps us get out the word for all of our upcoming guests and shows, including we got Mike Henson of Elf Creek Games coming up, Bill Lasik coming up after BGG Con, and to top it off at the end of the year, we got my buddy Stephen Bonacore of Stronghold Games, the Podfather himself, coming back on.
That's a nice term. I'm just Mr. Childress's assistant. So.
The king of legacy, but Mr. Childress's assistant. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's my primary job.
I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, and Rob, until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Bonsoir.